Hey folks, this is your host, the one, the only, Thrifty Gamer 83 here. You know what? This is a walk down memory lane for me. WCW NWO Revenge was a game I can remember playing with my older brother Bill for hours, if not an entire weekend. When I would go over to see him on the weekends, WCW NWO Revenge was right inside of the Nintendo 64 and ready to be played. It was one of those games. It was easy to control. It was easy to master. It was a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and a very, very good time. I can remember several times being the tag team guy and just getting in a few extra hits on the guy outside the ring just to mess with him a little bit. And WCW NWO Revenge took a very, very big leap for me because most of the wrestling games I'd played up to that point had long chain commands, which were really, really hard to pull off. And it really, really hooked me onto what Nintendo was bringing. It made me think, well, Nintendo's doing this. This is something that's awesome. And at that time, it was just about split into three gaming factions because you had the PlayStation, later you would have the Dreamcast, but still, the Nintendo 64, the Dreamcast, and the PlayStation were just all doing battle with each other. And I can remember playing Ocarina of Time. I can just take myself back to those games. You had Ocarina of Time, which was a masterpiece. You had Super Mario 64, again, which was a masterpiece. And I rank WCW NWO Revenge with those. It was a perfectly executed wrestling game, as well as being a perfectly executed game. And I might add as well, the Nintendo 64 really was pushing the last of the major cartridge systems for that era, and not, being that as it may, the handheld hadn't really caught up to the 64. There wasn't a DS on the forefront or on the horizon, so really, you had the Nintendo 64, you had this immaculate machine, which was just designed to fit what Nintendo had wanted. You had 4 joystick ports. These were perfect for GoldenEye. I may not have liked GoldenEye's story in the game. I love the movie, but in the game, it was a little hard to follow. Years later, I finally was able to follow it. Although, of course, I really don't like the partner AI in there. But still, to me, remembering just those memories of my older brother, of hanging out, of Mountain Dew, Code Red, and Pepsi. Really, that for me was my gaming binging memory. Mountain Dew, Code Red, Pat's Pizza. Pat's Pizza is a chain here in Maine, if you don't know. So, yeah, if you're in the area, you can get there from here. Anyway, just really, despite all the chunky graphics, despite the blockiness, I still love my Nintendo 64. I still love the games that were put out for it. My heavens, there were so many great titles, and there were so many games which could go under the radar as well. They wouldn't really catch someone's eye or ear. and just to have all these memories of my older brother come rushing forward to remember when I was stuck in Ocarina of Time and brought the cartridge over and we figured it out. We figured out what I was doing wrong in one of the levels. I was really, really caught up in just how breathtaking the visuals were for the Nintendo 64. Everyone was saying PlayStation, PlayStation, PlayStation. Well, I had a PlayStation as well, and the Nintendo 64 didn't really have the RPGs, but it did have games like Winback, which, as I said before, it crept right under the radar as a wonderful atmospheric-driven stealth game. And you had games like that for the Nintendo 64. They would absolutely go unnoticed. You wouldn't really see them until you picked up a video game magazine, while Sony was putting that wheel into effect with various other games. You had developers and publishers who had put out titles like Winback. Instead of putting out commercials for them on the History Channel, as I saw what was back then Squaresoft, not Square Enix, you'd see reviews for titles like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, just breathtakingly beautiful. But then you'd have these games for the Nintendo 64. They would slip under the radar. It would be called a kid's console. And while, yes, it was family-oriented, it brought just along those games, like I said before, you had Winback, Covert Operations, which was really a great game. It had great controls, it had great polish, it had a great atmosphere, it had multiple endings. All that on a cartridge. And I could pit Metal Gear Solid against Winback, and I would give the edge to Metal Gear Solid, but still, Winback was an amazing game, and of course it also had something Metal Gear Solid didn't, which was a decent shotgun. I like that in Winback. I really miss games which have that appeal. Alright, folks, rant, rave, love, hate, click that subscribe button. You're keeping my show on the air. Have a good one.